Anyway, good afternoon and welcome to the May monthly meeting of the Agile Hartford Agile community. Today, we have a truly cross-America presentation for you. The meeting is originating in Hartford, Connecticut. I am Larry Bach, an Agile Hartford board member, and I'm based in San Antonio, Texas. And our speaker today, Sally Elatta, is coming to us from Omaha, Nebraska. So we're all over the place. Before we begin, we have some valuable information from Eliason and Diane Pillar. Diane?
Oh, I don't know if you'd call it valuable information, but we are obviously just proud sponsors of Agile Hartford and all of the work that you guys do and bringing us these fantastic speakers. I mean, I don't know that there's many other organizations that did so well, even through COVID, and how you guys did everything virtually and were able to bring so many new people to be able to speak and help the Agile community here in Connecticut grow and learn. So we're just happy to be sponsors of the event. And obviously we do a lot of work in the Agile space. We have a lot of business that Eliason conducts for Agile coaching and training and providing and helping teams grow and just being there for our clients as they transition and try to become better Agilists themselves. So we're in it with you, and we appreciate obviously the opportunity to be a sponsor here.
All right. Thanks, Diane. And thank you to Eliason for sponsoring this event and our other events too. Eliason is an invaluable partner to Agile Hartford. Tonight, we have a presentation. Oh, I guess I should flip this. There we go. Here's how to find out more about Agile Hartford. We don't have a slide today that tells you about our upcoming events. I think we just made a mistake and didn't put one in there. But you can look to these places, including the big one, the agilehartford.org, to find out what's upcoming. And here are the board members. I'm Larry Bach. Chris is on here somewhere. Chris, you're there. You want to say hi, Chris?
Hi, everybody.
All right. Okay. And at the end, we'll ask if anybody has any insights on some future topics or anything that we can do to make this much better for you. Again, we are here to serve you. We at Agile Hartford are here to serve you, to help you increase your knowledge in Agile and just be a better coach or Scrum Master or whatever it is that you do. Tonight, we have a presentation that is probably not like any other that you've heard from a leader in the Agile community. This is not a technical presentation or one that provides context on a methodology. Tonight, we're going to hear from Sally Elatta on her life's journey, and she will touch on her company that many of us may be familiar with, Agility Health. We will hear on how Sally and Agility Health have made a global impact. Sally, is it okay if to take questions throughout, or do you want to have them held to the end?
I don't mind taking questions. So if people want to just post it in the chat, if they've got a question, I'm happy to pause. And I do have a couple of Slido exercises where I want people to engage and just answer some of the questions. So expect to be engaged, but it's okay if you want to eat dinner on the side.
Okay, thank you. Okay, without further ado, let's please help me welcome Sally Elatta.
Thank you, Larry.
And I will stop sharing, and Sally, it's yours.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us this evening. Larry asked me to do this presentation, and I normally talk about Agile, talk about metrics, measurement, continuous improvement, talent development, all these amazing things. And then he said, no, I want you to talk about the work that you're doing globally. I want you to talk about the be bold. I've known for, always saying that my leadership style is being bold, be real, and lead with love. So what does that really mean? So I am really excited to share this with you. I always say I'm actually more comfortable and confident speaking about the other stuff. This one makes me vulnerable because I'm telling my personal story. So please engage, ask questions. I'm going to ask you at different points to share what's your big dream? What are you trying to do? And hopefully this inspires you. So let me go ahead and share my deck here. And let me know when you can see it.
We can see it.
All right, perfect. So let's go ahead, slideshow. All right, so be bold, be real, and lead with love. a little bit about me. I started our company, Agility Health, which was called Agile Transformation, about 12 years ago. I am a mother of these beautiful children that you see on the left side, Sharif, Noor, and Yara. I have started Agile videos many years ago as well, so I've got several videos there. And I'm also the founder of Sudan Next Gen, and that is my nonprofit organization that I run on the side. And I want to tell you a little bit about that. But why did I start a nonprofit, and how can you and how can we take a lot of our skills, being change agents and change leaders, and bring them to make an impact that's beyond what we do at work? And I think that a lot of our skills are easy to transition into that other world. Here's my husband and me wearing our traditional clothes from Sudan. So originally I'm from Sudan in Africa. And I'm just excited to share this with you. So before I engage and tell you about my story, I wanted to ask you a question, which is, what skills as a change agent equip us to lead big change? I'm assuming that many of you are leading some kind of change within your organization, maybe in your life, personal life, or within your companies. So if you can go to Slido, I think many of you probably are familiar with Slido, go to slido.com and type in 0574 383. And let me go and just make sure this poll is open. And there we go. And if you don't mind answering the question, which is, as change agents, as Agile practitioners, what are the skills that equip us to lead big change? Is it our technical skills? Is it our confidence? Is it our personality? Is it our leadership? What is it our guts? Go ahead and share. Slido.com 0574 383. We actually don't even have a lot of people, so you guys can probably speak up. I wasn't sure how many people are going to show up. So feel free to just honestly unmute yourself and just speak up. What does it take to lead big change? People skills, being flexible and adaptable, good listener. All right, who wants to say something?
I was going to add in that you need to know what the goal is and be able to articulate the goal to everybody.
Mm-hmm. You have to have a goal. Flexibility, yep. Be flexible, good listener. So I, let me just start again over here. So when I went into my life thinking I want to make some big changes, I really realized that I'm grounded in my mother. So my famous quote here is, behind every strong woman, there's a stronger one. So my mother is really what grounded me in this confidence, I would say, or courage. Maybe it's actually courage is the better word, to do something big or try to do something that other people would normally be afraid to do. And I really love her, and she lives with me here right at home. So I built this house that I live in so that my mother and my father could live with me. My father passed away a couple of years ago, but she grew up in Sudan, and she grew up in a culture where women were really just supposed to stay home. So the fact that she graduated high school and went to college, that was like, why do you even need to do that? And when she got to college, she got her master's degree, and then she got her PhD in Scotland. And she was always very ambitious and very much driven to always succeed. And I think that's really important. I'm sharing that because a lot of us are parents. And I will tell you that how you raise your children makes a huge difference in their future in terms of their confidence and their courage to do something different. If we teach our children from the beginning that they're not capable of doing something, then they're going to believe that. But if you really instill in them that they can, then they will. So dream big is really, where I started with, which is, big goals, believing in yourself, that you can do what you want to set out there, building a strong team. It's almost impossible to do anything that's big on your own. You have to have a strong, solid team. Here comes agility, experiment and learn. If you overanalyze something, and if you're trying to build that big, maybe you want to start a business, or maybe you're going into a new career, or maybe you're trying to start something in your local community. If you overanalyze it, if you don't experiment, let me try something, test it, learn it, it doesn't really work. So the small experimenting, and then be fearless. I think a lot of us have that negative Nelly inside us that says that we can't do something. So being fearless and just actually giving it a try. And just doing it, and not having that analysis paralysis or that doubt, stop you from moving forward. And then set very short-term goals and stay focused on them. Obviously use Agile, have a backlog, come up with a 90-day plan, break it down to weekly or 2-week or monthly, but set some goals and stay focused on them. And I really like this quote, which is, I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man or woman is not he who does not feel afraid, but the one that conquers that fear. So anytime we've got something big in our mind, and again, it doesn't have to be what I'm going to share with you, which is, trying to impact another country. It could be starting a business. It could be moving into a new career. It could be doing something large, having a baby, whatever it is that you're afraid of, but you really want to do. Conquering that fear is really what courage is about. It's not having the fear. So this is a wonderful book that I just wanted to share. I'm sure you guys have seen it before, but it's called Positive Intelligence. Why do only 20% of teams and individuals achieve their true potential? And it's really because of these negative Nellies. This book talks about, in your mind, you have the sabotaging mind, the one that tells you that you're not going to do it, you're not going to succeed. And the book really kind of summarizes these 10 saboteurs, which is the judge, the one that's always judging you. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not strong enough. You don't have enough money. This is not the right time. There's the pleaser. And the pleaser is that part of your brain that says, oh, but I have to make them happy. I have to make mom happy. I have to make my husband happy. I have to make my boss happy. So I'm going to continue to do things only to please others, even if they don't fit my goals. There's the victim. It's my favorite one. The victim's the one that says everything that's not going well is because others are doing this to me. It's not because of me. It's not because of anything that I'm accountable for. It's others are, doing this to me, not giving me enough, not helping me, not supporting me, judging me. And so I'm a victim of my life. The other one is the restless. Actually, I want to go to the top one, is the stickler. The stickler is the one that everything has to be done such a specific way, really detail oriented, almost perfectionist, that it's hard for them to move forward and see it in any other way. And the hyperachiever, there's a lot of us that are like that. I raise my hand for the hyperachiever, and it's the person that always wants to do such a great job and such an excellent job that failure cannot be an option. And so if they fail even slightly, they get very demoralized. And so sometimes, because they're hyperachiever, they don't want to do anything until they can 100% sure it's going to succeed. And then the hyper rational is the analysis paralysis. Before I move forward, before I do anything, I'm going to analyze the heck out of it. I'm going to plan it out. I'm going to put detailed plans. I'm going to do a risk mitigation assessment. I'm going to talk to everybody that's ever done it before. And just the more data you have, the more afraid you are about moving forward. So there's so many of these. I'm curious, for those of you here with me, mirror, mirror on the wall, which one of these resonate with you as some of your internal saboteurs? I can tell you, for me, I'm probably the hyperachiever. I think I'm judgmental for myself sometimes, and probably the controller. Those are 3 things that I'm working on. What about for you?
This is Chris. I'm definitely a hyperachiever as well. I'm probably a pleaser. I think this comes from being a servant leader in Agile. You want people to have that harmony and happiness and be inspired and stuff.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for sharing. Who else? Come on, don't be shy.
We have a couple in the chat. One says stickler, one says judgmental.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I think I fall in that pleaser category as well, almost to the, trying to make everybody happy, not always.
Pleaser.
Yeah.
Yep. And so sometimes that can hold us back, right? Because we're trying to make people happy and prioritize their needs over what we need. But this is helpful, I think. And as you can see, I'm trying to set the foundation for, before you can dream big and set big goals, you got to work on some of these, right? You got to work on some of these things that are holding you back, because it's all here, like, right? Our ability to do something or not do it all starts from, do we believe that we can or not? So I'm going to ask you now, and you can do it in slide, or actually you can do it in the chat, or you can speak up over here. I'll be flexible, but what is your big dream? If I had to ask you guys something that you want to do that's always in the back of your mind, but you just don't feel confident or comfortable, or maybe it's not the right time yet, an impact that you want to make. It could be an impact on your community. It could be something personal, could be obviously global. Hopefully it's not global. Not everybody wants to do global stuff, but what is it that you're trying to do that kind of sits in the back of your dream? So let's go here. And feel free, let's actually do it here in chat because there's not that many of you. I thought there'd be a lot more, so we would want to do Slido, but go ahead and chat here. And I'll just look at the results. I'll stop sharing so we can see. Chris, tell us about your dream.
So one of my passions is absolutely like people development, right? So one of the things I try and do every day is look at corporate experience as a method of development and provide my coaches and my servant leaders with as much opportunity that matches what they want to do in developing their own careers, but also matches very solidly with good Agile principles and practices.
I love that. I love that, Chris. And is that something that you are working on right now or that you want to work on?
That's something that I'm actively working on. I think a lot of times in the corporate space, though, there's, roadblocks that can't really be cleared that easily, right? There's hierarchies, there's politics, there's the ways of like the old world are still kind of there. So I think it's a tough fight, to be honest. And, again, in lots of those hierarchies, if you're not in a certain position, sometimes you don't have the same ability to pave the road. So that's something I was hoping to get out of your session today, is kind of being bold, but also leading from different sort of positions inside of a corporate hierarchy, I suppose.
Influence, right? Like
yeah.
What influence do you need to do to move the needle forward? I love that. Thank you, Chris, for sharing. Larry, you want to become more involved in? He's like, where's my unmute button? I see you struggling.
There we go. Couldn't find the mute button. Unmute button. So yeah, I would like to help with nonprofits, and I know that's a broad spectrum of things because nonprofits can be involved in pretty much every aspect, and so that's part of my my challenge on myself, because I haven't really narrowed it down. It's just like, yes, I want to help my fellow man, but that's pretty broad, and so I've got to narrow it down. I've got to find a cause that really resonates with me, and then get involved with that.
Yep, it's time consuming, so you have to have your heart into it, something that really is going to inspire you.
Right.
Jen, tell us, or somebody above. No, Prabha. Is it Prabha? Your big dream.
Yes,
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So it's about learning, something every day, every week, every month, if I can, educate others about what I've learned, and I'd like to coach people, and being busy all the time. I think that's something I always strive to do. Delivering things the Agile way. So I just like to keep busy, and if I'm not doing something, I'm always worrying if I don't have enough on my plate. So that's my big dream.
Yeah.
I think so.
And are you living that dream? Are you happy with that right now, or is it something that you're still trying to do more of?
Every time I'm not doing, I'm always looking as to how I can change and do it. So I'm currently doing all of this, but once this changes, once I get less busy, I'll be looking for a new job or trying, a new role or something that can keep me busy. So I'm trying, I think, at this point in time.
Thank you for sharing. Jen, tell us about your dream.
Well, actually, I'm Hetty. That's just like my username or something like that. But hello, everybody.
Hetty, hi.
Hi. So my big dream is right now to I work in the corporate environment, and I'd love to use those connections and that experience that I have to bring in the youth in the community. I grew up in Hartford and never saw myself working in the corporate environment or traveling anywhere outside of Hartford. So being able to give young people in the inner city a chance to intern or actually see themselves outside of the city, outside of, flipping burgers or whatever limitations they're putting on themselves. If I can connect the community with, the work that I'm doing now, that would be the most amazing dream.
And you're already working in a corporate environment, but you want to bring in the youth, or is it something that you still want to work in the corporate? Tell me where you are in that dream.
So I already work in the corporate environment. I work in IT, and I work a lot. I work closely with the people in different departments within my organization. So I feel like I've made a connection with a lot of people. And because of that connection, I think that they'd be more willing to give young people a chance than they normally would. So hopefully that'll be like my in to allow young people, the thing is, young people, they're irresponsible, they're rude, they're ghetto or whatever stigma we put on them. So trying to break through that. That's my goal.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Sonia, let's end with you.
Trying to unmute. Sorry about that. I work for a really large global company right now. They're a conglomerate of massive numbers of companies. And right now I'm working in the IT sector. I feel like the teams that I work with, we're at the bottom, right? So everything kind of filters down. And I feel like there could be more discussion, more conversations that kind of come from the top down to kind of align us all on the same page or focus on specific goals that are maybe clear to our product or whatever. So I think for my goal, if I can reach the ones that are up at the very top and say, hey, us down here matter too, or let's not just put these, wonderful mission statements out on our website and not do anything with them, right? So I feel like I like to poke the bear a little bit and sometimes kind of provoke that conversation where it's like, okay, while you may think everything is kind of on this happy path or we're just following instructions, I feel like we need to veer a little bit and let's have the side conversation. Not everybody is happy. So how can we change that? How can we start that conversation towards change? So that's my big goal.
I think that's beautiful. So I'm going to summarize just a couple pointers here. Hopefully it helps the folks that are on this call, because I don't know if my story will directly help or not. So I just want to pause and think about that. One of them is, Sonia, for what you're talking about, a lot of executives and leaders and companies are shifting to what they call outcome-based planning, which is what are the outcomes, but what they normally, well, they'll tell you we have outcomes, but they're strategic, they're like multiple years. But companies are starting to say, but what outcomes are we trying to achieve this year annually? And how can I align my teams on a quarter by quarter basis to understanding what problem we're trying to solve, what business, area are we trying to influence? And what we found is if you can influence even a webinar, a seminar, an overview, a conversation around what does it mean to be outcomes oriented and what do outcomes look like and how can teams, their work, instead of just get these things done, be aligned to outcomes. If you can influence just education around that, that's like the seed, because all we do as change agents is we plant these little seeds and that we hope one day that it begins to grow. So that's just something that I just came to me as you were talking about, how do I influence them so we know and that we matter? And even starting to do quarterly planning and bringing in business and technology leaders to talk about what are we trying to get done this next quarter and the why. I think the why is the most important part. So influencing that conversation and even planting a seed and trying it in a smaller area, and then showing the value, or even getting one business executive, one technology executive to agree, hey, can we just try this for the next quarterly planning to really bring in the business outcomes and what is it that we're trying to solve? That's just something I wanted to share with you in case it's helpful and see if it's plants, a seed that you can plant there.
I will try. Thank you.
No problem. So I'll share my story, and hopefully as part of me sharing this kind of answers some of the other folks that are thinking about how do I move my dream forward. So when I started my company, it was back in 2009. I don't know if you guys can see this. I'm trying to move these. It was back in 2009. Do you guys remember what was going on in 2009?
Financial crisis.
There was a financial crisis. It's like the worst time in the world to start a business. And on top of that, I was pregnant. I already had this little girl over here, Yara, but I was pregnant with Sharif. So all of the reasons for why I shouldn't do something were there, and think about where you are today, whether you're trying to influence internally or, like you said, start bringing in the youth. There's all these reasons that you shouldn't do it. This is not the right time. But that was the time I started my company. And my goal at the time was just make up my revenue, make up my salary, because I was going independent and I always had a comfortable salary. So how do I, and we really had 2 employees. It was me and my husband at that time. And you can see the story of how we grew, so from 2009, we had 2 people. In 2011, the big new product that we launched to the market was agilevideos.com. It's our big library for teaching people Agile using these very short videos. And my vision behind that was, and what people actually didn't just come as a vision, people told me, hey, we love all this training you guys are giving us, but how do I sustain it? I've got a lot of people here. I can't send them all to training. It goes away after 2 days. How can I have you, how can you give me something that they can access at any time? So the vision behind Agile Videos came from a real need and from a lot of customers saying, how can this be more sustainable? And that's a very important message, is every time we're developing something new, every time we're pivoting, it's based on needs. It's based on what customers are saying. It's based on what people are telling you. It's very important that when you build something, you build it because there's a real market fit and there's people telling you that they need something like that. There's a problem you're trying to solve. So that's when we grew to about 10 employees. And then Agility Health, if you guys know about our big radars, our big wheels, the next problem I saw in the market when I was at Blue Cross Blue Shield, Nebraska was we couldn't measure. I had 40 different teams. And the only way the CIO knew how they were doing was because I was talking to a lot of them. I was, as an Agile coach, meeting with several of them and trying to figure out where they were. And then I would go tell the CIO, I'm like, hey, we've got some real problems over here. Or there could even be problems at the management level, but she would never know about them. Or some teams look like from a metrics perspective that they're doing well, but I know they're falling apart from a morale perspective. So the problem I was trying to solve there is how do I get the voice of the teams to the highest level, bypassing all these other layers so that the teams can be open and honest and say how they're doing and where is it that they need help. And this concept of measurement and continuous improvement just becomes part of what they do. And that was originally the problem I was trying to solve. And so that's where Agility Health was born. And in 2018, we grew to over 110 employees within the company. And then what happens in 2019, 2020? COVID, right? So COVID hit and we really had to downsize. And so I learned, as an entrepreneur and somebody who has a vision, that it doesn't always go well. Like there are some times where you have to realize what you said you're going to do. You're going to struggle. You're going to be challenged. You're going to have to lay off. And those were my most painful, I think, a couple of years ago when I had to do layoffs because it's okay. I mean, if you're letting somebody go because they're not performing, that makes sense because they're not performing. But letting go good people that are performing is like the hardest thing in the world to do. And I, as a leader, like the whole purpose of my company was really to create a culture where people are happy and feel like they're productive and part of something big. So that really taught me a lot of lessons as well, as a leader, that things don't just go up, they go down, and it actually makes you stronger. So that was what happened. And right now we're about 80 employees, 85. And I love this picture, even though not everybody here is still with us, but I really love this picture and I love this wall. And I'll tell you where everything's at right now, but we had this, what we called our culture wall in our company, and our culture wall really represented the things that we wanted to hire people for. And these are honestly things that we let go people for. Everything that's on this wall is why we hire, why we succeed, and how we've ever let go people. And this was a big session where we brought everybody from all over the world even. And we just had sort of a wonderful week together and had fun and engaged. And this was one of my uplifting weeks because to me, culture is represented by happy people and people being fully engaged and just having fun and building something that they all stand behind. So this was a really awesome moment. And this culture wall looks like this. And I think it's very important, whether it's in your company or as a team or for you personally, to kind of identify what are those things that are so important to me that are make it or break it. And for us, it was this, you do what you say you're going to do, that we are trusted partners to our customers. I hate when anybody calls us a vendor. I'm like, I'm not a vendor. We're a trusted partner. We're here to help you. Practicing what we preach, staying above the line. There's a wonderful video. And if somebody can post it, I think one of my team members can post it. It's called the location. And it really, this is a wonderful video for you guys to watch after this or even watch internally. It tells us as individuals, are we above the line? Or are we below the line? Above the line means that we're creative. We're not judgmental. We're thinking about what's possible. We're creative. When we're below the line, we're defensive. We're talking negatively about other people. We assume worst intent. We're falling in that victimhood. That's kind of below the line. And so that's a wonderful video that we actually play, everybody in the company that joins. And then servant leadership, one of you guys already mentioned it. So being servant leaders at heart, being thought leaders in our industry. There's a wonderful book called Humble, Hungry, Smart by Patrick Lencioni, lifting each other up. So these are planting seeds, not weeds. This is really important. Planting weeds is, planting negative thoughts about other people behind their back. Planting seeds is planting positive thoughts about people. So this culture was really important. And, like I mentioned to you, there was lots of lessons learned. And I think what makes you strong as an individual is these things that test you, these things that might look like failures, but they're really not failures, they're lessons. I remember Susan Courtney from Blue Cross, she used to tell me, every failure is basically tuition that you paid to learn something. You've already paid the tuition, you might as well learn it. And so whether it's COVID for us or the layoffs or, and then all of a sudden we got the federal grants, the PPP. So things go up and down, but it really makes you stronger in that journey to do what you want to do. Never let a serious crisis go to waste. It's an opportunity to do things you thought you never could before. And I think COVID emerged a lot of that. I think a lot of people during COVID wondered, well, what would it be like if I just worked from home? Or what would it be like if I went into this new role? Or what could it be like if I actually did start a business on the side? Or maybe people that had a business, what would it be like if I didn't have that business anymore? So nothing worth having is worth achieving without effort, and it all starts with you. I want to share with you a little bit of what I did for Sudan, because Larry really wanted me to share this global story. It really started with this. I was watching the news and watching TV in 2018, and I started to see this amazing woman, and all of the women in Sudan were standing up and rising, and millions of people were on the street, and they were protesting, and they were asking for something called freedom, justice, and peace. And they said, enough is enough with the dictator in Sudan. And so I'm originally from Sudan. And it was just very inspiring to just watch the videos every single day and see that, oh my gosh, all of these young people are standing up and saying enough for dictatorship. They don't want a dictator anymore. And they wouldn't stop. They wouldn't stop. It was day after day, week after week. They just kept going. Well, something you should know is that my father, who actually passed away right in the middle of this revolution, he was a general in the military in Sudan, and he left Sudan because of the dictator regime that took over. And ever since I've known him, ever since I grew up, he was against the current government. And so this idea of toppling the current dictator was very close to me, because that's all my father was trying to do. He was an activist. He was part of the democratic government that al-Bashir took over. And he was very sick at this time. So while I'm going through all of this and this is happening, my father had a stroke and he couldn't speak, he couldn't move. So every day I would sit next to him and show him, on my phone, what's happening in Sudan. And he would just smile and like nod his head and all of that. So I sort of felt like I was called to this mission to take over, his place and do something to help the country. And so the first thing that I did is what every Agilist do, is I put up a flip chart and post it in a very big Post-it note. And I started to write down, what's the vision behind this thing called Sudan Next Gen? And I called my best friend in Sudan, Emel, and we both sort of started to vision. And I just want to give you this idea, because it all starts with a vision. What's the vision? What is it that you're trying to do? Whether it's Larry and his nonprofit that he wants to help, whether it's, whatever it is that you're trying to do, what's your vision? What are you hoping to do? And what would success even look like for you? I really believe in the power of intent, which is once you write something down, once you make it public, once you say it, then it almost begins to manifest itself. Do any of you guys believe in that? The power of intent, right? Putting something out there in the world begins to manifest it. And so that's what happened to me here, is this little video. It started going, viral. We started a Facebook group, a Facebook page. We had 100,000 followers, which we still do. I put up a form, just a Google form, and I said, who wants to sign up to help Sudan? Any other experts around the world? And I had 1,000 people sign up to want to help Sudan. As I mentioned to you, I had to build a strong team. And so these are all of the amazing people that were part of my initial team for Sudan Next Gen, and they still are. And that's how we moved it forward. And then I built, so what is my skill set? I'm really good at building platforms and building websites. I'm a very technical person. So I come from a technology background. So I built this website. You can see it right now, sudannextgen.com. And I just used my skills, because that's what I know. I know Agile. I'm a good, strong leader, and I'm a team builder, and I know how to build websites and I build platforms. So that's what I started to do. And I'm just sharing this with you because I want you to know, sometimes you see something after it becomes really very big, but you got to know that at the beginning it was very small, and it was just somebody using their basic skills to move something forward. I built in the platform a way for experts around the world to register themselves to help Sudan. So all of a sudden 500 registered themselves. And part of it, I also allowed people to register projects, almost like crowdsourcing projects that can help develop Sudan. And we have over 270 projects that have been registered right now. Agile, I wanted to make sure that Sudanese people knew what Agile was, and I think the funniest thing, and I think the most exciting thing about Agile in Sudan is it's not for IT. nobody knows in Sudan that Agile was, built for technology. So this whole, how do I apply Agile out of IT is not even a conversation there, because from the beginning, Agile right now is a way for volunteer and nonprofit and community teams to organize themselves. That's what they know. So a lot of the teams in Sudan applying Agile right now are medical response, community response teams, teams that are trying to change the political situation, food distribution teams, teams that are doing small projects. None of them are IT. And I think that's pretty cool. What do you guys think about that? Right? A country that's growing up, Agile and Scrum is really for non-IT to begin with.
That's awesome. That's an awesome way to start.
It is just so amazing. And like one training class, this is one of our first training classes, had 350 people, right? So this is the level of hunger that they had. 350 people came to like teach me, like, I want to learn this. And, we set up a small, Facebook group.
Did we lose Salary, or is it just me?
Oh, am I lost?
Nope, I can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Yeah.
So okay, I'll keep going then, because that happens to me. I sometimes I freeze, and I really didn't. So this was really, I wanted to share this with you because you guys know Agile. And for me, I almost cried when I saw this kind of stuff, where people were putting up flip charts, Post-it notes, and coming up with their Kanban board, as a local team, just trying to figure out how to use Agile and Scrum to move things forward. We learned how to bring a whole bunch of logos and organizations together to combat COVID. So we had 39 different nonprofits come together. They started to learn Trello. Some teams really learned how to use Trello and come up with their 90-day and their sprint backlog. And when you see all of the stuff over here, it has nothing to do with IT. Some of them didn't like Trello. It was too complex for them. We had a farmers group that we were coaching and guiding, and they just wanted to use Google Slides. And so every slide was a sprint, and done or not done was a check mark or an X, but who cared? We didn't have to bring in story points or anything like that, because it doesn't matter. Like for them, even planning weekly and making progress and saying something's done or not done was really important for them. And then I finally got to meet the Prime Minister. So just so you know, where the story ends is the millions that came out there to support the revolution actually toppled the dictator. A new prime minister was brought to Sudan, and there he is on the left side. He came to the United States and I got to meet him. That was that's where I wanted to stop. But then what happened is the military that's in Sudan, the bad military, took over again, and they did another coup, and they took down this prime minister, and now they're in control again. That's not the story I wanted to tell you. I wanted to show you that, hey, everything's awesome, and we're now going to rebuild the country. But that was another part that I wanted to share with you, is anything that you're trying to do is not going to be easy. There's going to be a journey, and the journey is going to have a lot of ups and downs. And as a change agent, you have to have stamina. And stamina is, having that courage and that confidence and that just wherewithal to keep going with it and not to let go. Running this company that I have right now, there's ups and downs. This nonprofit, there's ups and downs. I've also become a local youth leader for a local mosque. That also has ups and downs, but I just take it day by day, and I make sure that I'm surrounded by other positive people that can always, help move the vision forward. And I try to celebrate the successes. So meeting that prime minister was awesome. Getting 500 Sudanese experts to want to help Sudan was awesome. We have, I think, generated more than $500,000 in donations for Sudan and sent them, and we've seen the results of that. So instead of thinking about all the things that didn't go well that I wish I could change, I'm always trying to reflect on, here's the little impact that I was able to make. And it's not little, it's big. Obviously, I wanted bigger. I really wanted to transform a lot in Sudan, but it's okay for me to pause right now until the country stands up again on its feet so I can return. So that's my story that I wanted to share with you. And I'm happy to take questions, and I'm happy to make this relevant for you. I know obviously not everybody's going to try to change a country, but in what way can I make this relevant for you and your goals, or what did you get from it that hopefully inspires you to take action?
So I have a tactical question. So I saw the 200 projects, the potential projects on the site. Mm-hmm. How can we possibly work on 200 projects at once? Is that just kind of organized chaos? Do people just kind of crowdsource that? How does that work?
Yeah, let me show you. So yeah, they're not projects for execution. So the goal is not, hold on, let me just take you to Sudan, next gen. So the goal from these projects was not to immediately execute, it was ideation. So we have a lot of young people in Sudan that have, and people outside of Sudan, that once the revolution succeeded, and there was and everybody was like, what can we do to develop Sudan? Well, somebody would say, well, I have this idea. And we were getting so much of that, just like email and WhatsApp and documents. I'm like, you guys, if you want to pitch an idea here and you're hoping to find investors or people that are going to give you grants, you're going to have to organize yourself. So the goal from all of these was really to organize lots of people with lots of amazing ideas for how the country can move forward. And of course, like you said, we can't work on all of it. So we do have filters, and we created a team that actually vets, they do vetting, and they can see, okay, only show me the projects that are vetted, that are high impact, and which SDG goal, which think about which priority is it aligned with, and you can begin to apply filters to see which ones you really want to fund. And my goal has always been that these projects have transparency so that nonprofits that have grants or companies, sponsors, and donors can find them and actually, like this one, obviously, there's lots of people that have viewed this one. So that was the part that I was able to facilitate, is creating a platform and creating a process for prioritization and vetting so that others can find it.
That's awesome. It's like a giant innovation jam.
It is. It's basically, yeah, it's like a big kind of innovation hub where people can just, brainstorm and share, but we still go through vetting. And then if you find a grant or a donor, they can actually sponsor and move it forward.
So I'm curious. You showed the picture of the 350 people that came for the Agile training, which I think is great. Fantastic. That's very awesome. But how did you convince them that this was a skill that they needed? I mean, what was the draw? Why would they come? Why did they, like you said, typically Agile is something you teach folks that are in IT. So what was the draw for these people to say, I need to learn this skill because I can do something with it?
It's a combination. I'm going to tell you first, Sudan was ready for change. There are some times where a company is ready for change, an organization, or even a country. And because of that energy of millions of people going to the street and actually succeeding in taking down a dictator, there was like this euphoria that everybody had, like, we can do this, like, we can do this. And so when people from the outside, the diaspora, started to pay attention to Sudan and say, hey, we're ready to upskill you, we're ready to help you. And remember, I told you one of my videos went viral. I mean, some of my videos had millions of views because they were all sharing it like crazy. So I became a known figure in Sudan. And when I said, guys, this is important for you, like my whole career is built on Agile, and I want you guys to be the first to bring Agile to this country. So think about the first to bring Agile to this company, or the first to pilot, like the way that we influence, enterprises, is be among the first. That, I mean, the combination of the big environment that they were in with the success of the revolution and taking down the dictator, I would say my name and recognition, and then, being the pioneer, yes, Chris, being the pioneer and being the first to market to do something like this, they were like all in, like, hey. And young people are hungry, and especially young people in third world countries, and I think in other countries, they're hungry. They want change. They want to do something. They want to make an impact, and they're just like, just show me how, just show me how. Take me out of this hole, especially when you've lived under a dictator for so long. I mean, just think about what's happening right now in the world with Russia and Ukraine and all of that. Just dictatorships really suck. People don't have, sorry about that, but they have no life. They have no dreams. They have no incentive to do anything differently, and so you just give them even a little bit of hope like that, and they're like, we're in. Like, what do I need to do? Where do I need to show up?
Got it. Thank you.
Good question. Other questions, or, I'd love to hear if this has inspired you to take any action forward, or do you walk away from this just feeling, oh, this is cool, or do you feel like you can take a step forward in whatever your dream is?
This is Hetty. I guess your story really definitely reminded me that, you could have a big picture, a big dream, but realistically, there's things that are out of your control, and there are going to be setbacks, and that sometimes it's probably going to be not exactly what you thought it would look like in the end. So it's kind of like plugging away at it and seeing who comes along and being flexible enough to kind of pivot and go in a slightly different direction to still get some positive outcomes. And then in the end, to kind of focus on the positive aspects of it. Like you're saying now, the political climate over there is different, and you're not saying, well, I tried, so it is what it is. You're saying, yeah, and I'm just waiting for it to change again to give me that other opportunity. So it's awesome that you have that kind of mindset where you're not just feeling down and giving up.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, what can I do locally? So I'm doing nonprofit, I'm doing humanitarian type work because I can do that. But a lot of the big developmental stuff I can't do. So, and I'm giving you that as an example because sometimes something big you're trying to do within a company might not work, but what can I do within my team then? Or what can I do within my line of business? Or what can I do locally? You always have to say, but where else can I make an impact? If you're truly, wanting to do impact, you just never give up.
I have a life question for you.
Yes.
How are you possibly balancing all of this and 3 kids?
That was kind of my question as well.
he was just here. He just walked away, but I was going to have him come say hello. I have an amazing husband. My husband is my best friend. He's my partner. My mom, like I remember told you guys, my mom lives with me here. So I actually have a village that helps me. My kids are grown. So Yara, Sharif, and Noor, they're all, 16 and 12 and 11. So they're self-sufficient, but my husband really is my anchor. And my mother, living with me and always praying and just being very close. That's all been very, very helpful. And he knows I'm very ambitious and he tolerates it and supports it and loves it. And I think that's really important because if you're living with somebody that's super ambitious and you're not, and it's okay for the other person not to be ambitious, but they at least need to be supportive, as opposed to well, that's not going to work. Well, you're crazy, you don't want that negative Nelly.
That's awesome.
It goes back to what you were saying earlier, looking through, working past the obstacles. Hopefully your spouse, your partner would not be an obstacle, but if they were, you'd have to work through that, an additional barrier.
Yep.
And sorry, multiple comments from my part, but another thing that was part of your presentation that you probably didn't know that people would take away, but sometimes in large corporations that feel of idealism is lost to like the miasma of like corporate speak. So one thing that really resonated with me was that slide that you had with your sort of hope wall or your ideal wall that has like, we're going to be good partners. And one thing I'm going to take away from that is trying to instill, that, small company feel and small company ideals and like hopes and focus into like my teams at where I work now, because I think that's something that's really motivational, and also especially for younger people in the workforce to have those kind of goals and aspirations versus, increase our stock price and, those kind of things that often happen in big companies,
And I just want you to know how we came up with that board, with that wall, is I did an activity and I said, we're coming up with our culture wall, and I want you to tell me and write up with Post-it notes on this big wall, what makes you want to work here and come here? What are the things that are so important to you? And everybody brainstormed, and then we kind of organized them, and then I took them and I vetted them and I worded them, and that's where the wall came from. So it was really asking people, what makes you want to come to work here? What makes you happy? And they started to say, I really want people to do what they say they're going to do. And some people said, I love coffee. So that's why you see coffee was on the wall. And they said, I don't want people talking behind my back. I love it when we're all trained. So we did the plant, we plant seeds, not weeds. So it came from them, and I think that's a good, activity and exercise to say what makes us happy, what makes us, happy to work here, and how can we keep those norms and cultural values, alive.
Awesome.
Great.
I like that you were talking about, I was just going to say something real quick about how you were talking about how people over there using Agile outside of IT. Yeah. And I think I saw somebody put in the chat, like, how would that even, like, how would you use that? Like, how does that connect? But I thought I heard I heard a TED talk about that, about how this guy said that he uses the Agile methodology for everything in his life. When he thinks about something he needs to do in the house, he manages that way. And I work in IT, but even we were I don't think my team was very open to learning about Agile and how to do things, and the Kanban board and all that, and the different meetings and things like that. So even in IT, sometimes there's skepticism, and being open to using it to accomplish any type of things when a lot of people need to coordinate, it can be useful.
Yeah, I mean, it's helped me so much. Like when you've got nonprofit or volunteers and people that don't have to do work. I mean, without the weekly sprints and the biweekly meetings and all of that, I don't know how I would have gotten some of this work done. In my own company now, all of our business teams use weekly sprints. But I'll be honest with you, part of what makes this work is some of us are so in love with all the methodology speak, story points and the burn up charts and the backlog, and the story has to be written as a user. I think if you put that a little bit on the side and just get them to practice it, so almost all of my teams, we do weekly sprints. Now we have a big summit this week. It's a big conference virtual that we're hosting, and it's all being planned in weekly iterations. We have something called Agility Health University that's going to be published live. It's not technology. It's just, this is the process for it. We do have some teams that are, so I think when you just get that whole, can we come together? Can we plan? Can we check in? Can we remove obstacles? We do a little retrospective at the end of each meeting every week. And I ask them, hey guys, what can be improved? The more gentle you are in bringing in these practices, but not making, hey, you have to go through 2 days of training on Scrum. Hey, there's something called a Scrum Master. Like, I think the more formal we make it, the more people get overwhelmed because they feel like this is process heavy. And the more we just do it and then slowly explain to them what we're doing, for those resistance group, is just a great way. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. Thank you so much, Agile Hartford, for inviting me. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, this was not a technical, yes, sneaky coaching. Yes, it's not a technical overview. Hopefully it was just inspiring and helped you guys move forward. And we've got Marla here from our team. If you guys ever want to learn more about Agility Health or what we do as a company, measurement, continuous improvement, Agile learning, please reach out to us. Marla, if you can just put your email address here and people can reach out. And thank you again, Larry, for inviting us to do this.
Sure.
Sally, can I ask one last question? What was the name of that book? Positive
Intelligence.
Thank you.
Well, there was another one too. You mentioned that Patrick Lencioni had.
Yeah, it's the Hungry, Humble, Smart, the ideal team player. It's called The Ideal Team Player. And it's about hiring people that are hungry, humble, and smart. And then the first one was Positive Intelligence.
I'm making a note.
All right.
Yes, thank you all.
So, Sally, here are my takeaways. Okay, I'm gonna give you a little bit of wrap up from me. So, what does success look like? Write down your intent. Starting a nonprofit, and that's close to my heart. Starting a company with helpful intent, and make it a good place to work. And of course, teaching about Agile and not just for IT. Awesome. Thank you so much for your talk today. We did appreciate it. I want to hear more. I'm looking forward to.
Me too.
I'm sure you're going to do a keynote someplace else and make it 2 hours long or something. I want to go to that. Thank you all very much too for coming and hearing all about Sally's journey. Let's see. We have the books that Sally mentioned are in the chat. Marla, were you going to put some contact information in the chat as well for getting back in touch with Agility Health?
Yeah, I did. I did put my email address in there.
Oh, you did? Oh, yeah, you sure did.
There's been a lot of chats since then. Jenny also put a webinar evaluation in there too.
Okay.
Perfect.
Well, thank you all. I want to thank not only Sally, but her support staff, Marla, Becca, Jenny. Thank you all for coming and helping us out.
I appreciate
and thank you all.
We had full coverage today. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Have a great day.
Bye. We look forward to seeing you all at our next event. Talk to you all later.
Bye.
Thanks, Larry.